Welcome to the Beau Show from Washington, D.C. Ever since Joe Biden took office in the current town from which I am broadcasting, a lot of the opposition to him hasn't always come from within Washington or even the GOP establishment. It has come from Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, who has been quick to push back hard on Biden when it came to the southern border crisis, illegal immigration, pandemic lockdowns, and pretty much any policy that Biden has introduced. It has set up a sort of showdown that could be considered a preview of the 2024 election. But at the very least, it shows two very different styles of governing. DeSantis has made Florida a microcosm of what America could look like with more a Republican-style policy, from taxes to lockdown freedom to small business environment to CRT and woke education. But it's not this Floridian I want to talk about today, pushing back on Biden, but rather another Floridian, Senator Rick Scott, who was governor of Florida before Ron DeSantis. Scott is releasing a series of videos that aim to provide the antidote to Joe Biden's plan for America, which he says has not worked at all. Scott's plan is called the 12-Point Plan to Rescue America. In a statement, Scott said the following, quote, "Let's be honest here. Joe Biden is unwell. He's unfit for office. He's incoherent, incapacitated, and confused. He doesn't know where he is half the time. Everyone knows it. No one is willing to say it, but we have to, for the sake of the country. Joe Biden can't do the job," unquote. Biden calls Scott's plan the ultra-MAGA plan, which, if you think about it, is bad branding if you're attacking it, because people seem to fare better under a MAGA economy, whether you dislike Trump or not. People are feeling the effects of a Biden economy versus a Trump economy. So if you just call it ultra-MAGA, well, you may be complimenting it more than attacking it. And Scott's comments about the president's mental acuity are not off base. We have seen him look confused, bewildered, sleepy, despondent, stumbling over words, tripping on Air Force One, and other slip-ups. It's not schadenfreude, it's just sad. In fact, let me show you how Biden said it, which is better than I can describe it.
Senator Rick Scott, Wisconsin, a member of the Senate Republican leadership, laid it all out in a plan. It's the ultra-MAGA agenda.
So, number one, Biden incorrectly states that Senator Scott is from Wisconsin. He is not. He is from Florida. Then he even fumbled over the word MAGA. Now, was this in his prompter or not? We don't know. Surely his team did not put Wisconsin in his prompter. If they did, that was a total Ron Burgundy moment from Anchorman. You could put anything in there and he would read it. Senator Scott went on to say that the most effective thing Joe Biden can do to solve the inflation crisis he created is resign. He's the problem. Getting him out of office is a quick and easy solution. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has declined to lay out any plan ahead of November midterms. He is still mostly in typical attack mode. And truly, it won't be hard for Republicans to take back both the House and the Senate come November. Gas prices alone would likely make that happen. But I do think what Scott is doing is important, because throughout all the Beltway bickering that we see, the very hyper-partisanship that Matthew McConaughey recently talked about, we rarely see the oppositional solutions. If they have them, we don't hear about them. Now, it is interesting that senators have been able to come to some agreement on this new bipartisan gun bill. That was a surprise. We know it can happen, so maybe that's a good sign. Initially, McConnell even pushed back on Scott's plan, though, saying that it's target-rich for Democrats to criticize. As for request for Biden to resign, another Senator Josh Hawley had suggested the very same thing after Biden's botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Both Senators John Kennedy and Lindsey Graham said that although they had not seen Scott's plan, they thought his call to get Biden to resign was in vain. They said it's unlikely, and indeed it is. The only hope of him stepping down would be due to personal health reasons and age, or perhaps some sort of internal coup to get Kamala Harris to be president. That would be the same 25th Amendment idea that was suggested in the Trump administration, a notion that the president would be unfit for office. But the reason I don't think that will happen is that Biden, despite his faux pas and unforced errors, is the Democrats' perfect marionette. He is far too feeble to make a stand. So someone is pulling those puppet strings. Not sure who those people are, but from a policy perspective, the Dems can run a shadow presidency by leaving Biden the weak in charge, while they do all the work behind the scenes. I mean, if the man doesn't know where Rick Scott is from, everything he says after that will seem inane. Senator John Thune, a Republican colleague of Scott's, thinks that there's a bit of personal beef between Biden and Scott, and in an election year, they trade barbs. Let's look at some of these ads, though, because this is a 7-figure ad buy from Scott. And although Scott chairs the National Republican Senatorial Committee, the ads are funded by Scott's own re-election campaign. So it gives some credence to his personal interest in bucking Biden in this effort. And perhaps these other GOP senators have their own ideas of what to do and are going to let Scott do his own thing. It's nice to see someone proposing alternative solutions when America seems like it's going down the toilet. Inflation, gas prices, national security, immigration, you name it. To make a case for a better America, you propose a different vision and better solutions. For instance, Biden has blamed gas prices on everything from demand to Vladimir Putin, never accepting any responsibility. So let's look at this 12-point plan and see what Scott wants to do. Let's watch one of the ads here first.
What are Republicans for?
Republicans seem to have no solutions, just rhetoric.
Some of my colleagues are more about stating the obvious, not finding solutions.
While the Republicans took a walk, the Republicans had no plan.
A Republican Party that hadn't done a damn thing.
We have real answers. They don't.
What is the Republican plan?
I'm Rick Scott. We've put together a plan to rescue America after Republicans win this year. But official Washington won't like this plan, but you will. Read it for yourself at rescueamerica.com. I approve this message and this plan because I want my country back. How about you?
Now let's go point by point. Number one, education. Our kids will say the Pledge of Allegiance, salute the flag, learn that America is a great country, and choose the school that fits them best. Now, you could say that this is forcing kids to love America rather than letting them choose to, but it does establish an old sense of tradition and respect. This is Scott's answer to woke critical race theory and revisionist history. Ron DeSantis already has done something similar in Florida. Point number two, colorblind equality. Government will never ask American citizens to disclose their race, ethnicity, or skin color on any government form. This is how Scott wants to get rid of racial identity politics. He quotes MLK in this by going back to character-based judgment, not skin color. As we know, identity politics divide us. Number three, safety and crime. The soft on crime days of coddling criminal behavior will end. We will refund and respect the police because they, not the criminals, are the good guys. We will enforce our laws, all of them, and increase penalties for theft and violent crime. We will clean up our cities and stop pretending that crime is okay. We have zero tolerance for mostly peaceful protests that attack police officers, loot businesses, and burn down our cities. This solution would have been very helpful in the summer of 2020, would it not? Number four, immigration. We will secure our border, finish building the wall, and name it after President Donald Trump. Now, perhaps this is where Biden wants to call this ultra-MAGA, and it is interesting that they want to name the wall after Trump. But then again, he was responsible for building a lot of it. A nation must have borders indeed, or it is no nation at all. Point number five, growth in the economy. We will grow America's economy, starve Washington's economy, and stop socialism. Here's a very specific solution. We will shrink the federal government, reduce the government workforce by 25% in 5 years, and sell government buildings and assets. The idea is to shrink a bloated federal government and return it to what it was intended to be. Number six, government reform and debt. Here's another big change. We will eliminate all federal programs that can be done locally and enact term limits for federal bureaucrats and Congress. So this is reducing government size again and leaving that to state and local levels. Term limits are also a huge change. No one in Congress is ever going to want term limits because that means that number one, they will have to be accountable, and two, they will eventually have to leave their powerful positions and can't become career politicians. Number seven of the plan is alliterative, it's hard to say this, fair, fraud-free elections. Say that 3 times in a row. But having fair, fraud-free elections would be nice, wouldn't it? 2,000 Mules, the documentary by Dinesh D'Souza, has really opened the eyes of those who disbelieve potential fraud in 2020. This particular premise of the plan points to the fallacy of Democrats calling certain ballot schemes voting rights, as if it is your right to cheat. Everyone knows that mail-in ballots are absolutely the most ripe for fraud. But the 2020 election had the perfect cover with the pandemic to eliminate in-person voting. Number 8, family. We will protect, defend, and promote the American family at all costs. This is also a big one, and a big schism between Democrats and Republicans. Dems have all but deconstructed the American family. BLM's bylaws were designed to allow the village, not the parents, to raise the child. And Dems cozied up to them. This is highly Marxist. If individuals are society's protons and neutrons, then the family is the whole nucleus, hence a nuclear family unit, or society's building blocks. If you want the opposite of that, look at Mao, Hitler, and Stalin. This part of the plan once again lays problems at the feet of socialism. And from Tenet 8 comes Tenet 9. Men are men, women are women, and unborn babies are babies. We believe in science. This is a shot at the recent lack of definition of gender, especially by Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who could not or would not define what a woman is, because she's just a justice, not a biologist. Pointing to our divine creation, this part of the plan recognizes both God's creation of man and woman and the science behind it. No, not the science that Anthony Fauci proclaims, but a more empirical science that doesn't ebb and flow with cultural trends. Number 10, religious liberty and big tech. Americans will be free to welcome God into all aspects of our lives. This paragraph talks about not only how Democrats have tried to remove organized religion, but they have created a new religion of wokeness, which permeates all elements of society. Big tech has been a big ally of Democrats, and I use that word very deliberately, since ally is a trendy word these days, ripe for virtue signaling. Big tech's cozy relationship with Democrats allowed them to unanimously ban Donald Trump from platforms, remove stories, suppress truth, and spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a covert plan to increase ballot drop boxes, the corridor to election fraud. This is all now out in the open. Number 11, America first. We are Americans, not globalists. Here's another big dissonance between Biden's Democrats and Republicans. Biden is a globalist. He wants a more globally focused and globally inclusive America, not an America that prioritizes its own citizens. If you don't believe me, why did Biden give $400 billion of your money to Ukraine when that could have been used to ease burdens of taxes, inflation, gas, homeless people, veterans, or healthcare? Trump ushered in an era of America first and really took it to China over trade ripoffs. Whether you love him or not, he loves America. And whether you love America or not, he loves America. You don't hear that coming from Joe Biden. And finally, number 12, cutting taxes. And the site reads, quote, "Note for President Biden, this plan cuts taxes. Nothing in this plan has ever or will ever advocate or propose any tax increases at all. Stop Congress from bankrupting America. The federal government is quickly bankrupting America. Congress must be stopped. Read how." So if you click on Explore Point 12, you will see other policy suggestions, such as make the Trump tax cuts permanent, require a supermajority to raise taxes or fees on the American people, require a supermajority to increase the debt ceiling, and congressional pay raises and pensions, protect America's seniors and veterans from Washington dysfunction. No budget, no pay for Congress. Enact a line item veto and ban earmarks, and eliminate omnibus bills.